I want to catch up on all the good news and the bad news in Seattle sports. I haven't talked about them all recently because a few weeks ago I went on vacation, and then at the end of that I got sick. So I haven't talked about them much besides the Seattle Storm draft and the Seattle Seahawks draft. So I kind of want to get my thoughts out on all the teams at once, and then I'll get back to doing single videos for each individual team as things come up. And let's start with the bad news first. In fact, some real bad news. The Seattle Kraken fell apart at the end of the season and they completely missed the playoffs. Ron Francis, being the mastermind behind all this the last 5 years, has not worked out, and he is out of the organization. And with that, we don't really know the direction of this team. Because right now they are frustrating to watch because they are inconsistent and they don't have a star. And they haven't had a single star in the 5 seasons that they've existed. I personally think that's one of the biggest problems. They need that player that they know can get the job done and that they can rely on in big moments. But let me know what you think. Do you think the Kraken need to go out and get a big star this offseason, or run it back the way they've been doing it? And now for the Seattle Torrent, who were also eliminated from the playoffs. For them, much earlier on. Because for this team, they had a lot of injuries and a lot of inconsistency throughout this season. Inconsistency because there was injuries, and because this is a new team with a lot of these players playing together for the first time. At least with this team, you can see what they're building, and it's exciting, and they have stars. Unfortunately, they won't be building this team with the number 1 pick overall, as they did not get enough gold points for the number 1 pick. But they are getting the number 2 pick, so either way, they are getting a very good player for this team that is going to help build this team into a contender. I already talked about the Storm's draft, so I want to talk about what I think is bad news for them. Ezi Magbegor injured. She's going to be missing 6 to 8 weeks. She's going to be missing a good portion of the beginning of the season. Awa Pham is finishing up her contract in Spain, so she hasn't even joined the team yet, so she's not practicing with the team yet. So while I think this team is going to be very exciting to watch because we have so many fun, exciting young players on this roster, unfortunately, I think it's going to be a very rough season for them. But if they are bad and they get the number 1 pick in next year's draft, well, Juju Watkins joining Dominique, Ezi, and Flage sounds pretty good to me. Now let's talk some soccer. And let's start out with the Seattle Reign. And look, it's not really bad news with them, but Jess Fishlock did announce that she is retiring after this season. And so I would say the unfortunate and frustrating thing about this team so far this season is also problems with inconsistency. Because if they are going to have Jess Fishlock ride off into the sunset with the championship, this team is going to need to get more consistent. They are 4th overall in the standings right now, but they could be doing so much better if they were playing more consistent. And they just don't look like a contender at this point right now with this inconsistency. That doesn't mean they can't get there. That's just where they're at right now. And continuing with Seattle soccer talk, let's talk about the Sounders. This team is also in 4th place overall in their league. They are also struggling with some inconsistencies, but I think they are closer than people think. Because they are creating chances and staying competitive in every match. They have just been inconsistent and haven't been able to put it all together in the final moments. But when they start doing that consistency, look out, we are talking about a championship contender team. And you know what? Let's keep up the inconsistency trend going and talk about the Mariners. Oh boy, this team's inconsistency was so bad that while I was on vacation a few weeks ago, people were already declaring the Mariners season over just a couple of weeks into the season. But thankfully in baseball, you can't just declare what a team is just based off of a couple week sample size. And all our stars that were struggling have sure been heating up lately. And at the time of making this video, we are on a 4-game winning streak and almost back to 500. just a game and a half out of the division lead, by the way. And we are talking about baseball, so there are going to be portions of this season, like earlier, feel like bad news. But there's going to be plenty of good news as well, and I think by the end of this season, it's going to end up being a good news season. Let me know if you are feeling the same way as me, or if you are feeling down on this team still and feel like it's going to be bad news at the end of the season. And now let's talk about the Seahawks. I've already talked about the draft. And the good news there is I think they got what they needed, especially with the first 4 picks they made in this draft. And other good news about this draft was that it seems like the rest of the teams in our division had no clue what they were doing in this draft. So while our team made some phenomenal moves to make our team better now and in the future, I don't think that any of our divisional rivals came anywhere near doing that. So in my eyes today, we are the clear-cut front runners to win this division and to go back to another Super Bowl. So there you have it. That's all the good news and bad news things that I wanted to talk about that happened since I went on vacation. So give me your take on any and all of these teams because I want to hear them. Let's go Seattle.